from Los Angeles. This is the Special Report with Areva Martin.
I had a similar experience with my mother as she was dying, like I said, over a decade ago. Didn't think of it in this formal way as an ethical will, but she and I lived in different states, but we talked every day, and she got to share with me the things that is kind of the answers to these questions without knowing the questions. And I did her eulogy at her funeral. And I really, this process, and I'm going to, encourage folks to go through it, because having gone through that with my mother and then being able to share it out at her funeral made her death and her dying really different than I think it otherwise would have been.
Yes.
I was able to say to the congregation of people who were gathered at her funeral, she was at peace. I mean, she was able to, it was like a big boulder had been lifted off of her shoulders or back as she shared these really deep and personal and intimate things with me as her daughter, and in hearing them I could just feel the weight being lifted off of her.
Yes.
And so I didn't think I would ever be able to speak at my mother's funeral, but I was just so happy to share with everyone.
It changes everything. It changes everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was just amazing. So I'm a firm believer in this process because I've lived through it myself, and it is so liberating for both the person who's dying and their loved one, if you're fortunate enough to be in that receiving position, which I was.
Yes, because you were able to embrace the truth of her life. Most eulogies are just the facts. She was born here, she did this, she married so-and-so Ben, and had me and had my sister, and went here and went there, and her, she was a great baker. These are facts. They're not truths. And it's the truth that really brings us meaning. And you make a very important point. When the book first launched a couple months ago, less than 2 months ago, I was asked one of these quick surprise questions by a talk show host. If you had to summarize your book in 2 words, what would they be? And it came to me immediately. The 2 words were, don't wait. Don't wait. This is still so hard for me sometimes. I didn't know that my last conversation with my dad was my last conversation with my dad. I didn't know that. He had Alzheimer's for 10 years. I flew from LA to Minneapolis every few months to visit with him. One visit, he could speak. And the next visit, he never really spoke again. You really never know. Don't wait. Don't wait to ask these questions. Don't wait to answer these questions. And by the way, don't wait because you're 30 and you think, oh, that's for old people to do. No, these existential, essential questions they're not about death. They're about life. Your life.
Yeah, I was at a funeral recently of a young person who died by suicide, unfortunately. And that was what the dad said that made everybody in the room break down. The dad said he didn't get to say goodbye. And, like you're saying, he didn't know the last conversation he had. And that was echoed by the young man's best friend. The young man was just 26, by his best friend, who said, I'd spoken with him that morning at 7 a.m. And I didn't know. We had our, I didn't know that was going to be the last conversation. You hear that echoed a lot at funerals, when someone says, as you said with your dad, and as my friend's husband said, and at this service. Yeah, but it's so difficult, Rabbi Steve, again, to get people who are well in their 20s and 30s to think, oh my God, I should care about any of this. And particularly, and let's talk about it in the concept of now, so many millennials don't think of themselves as being religious. Many aren't affiliated with any organized denomination, whether it's Judaism or Catholicism or,
Anyism.
Anyism. They don't
other
know.
Than individualism, right?
Yeah, that, of course. Meism is really strong in that generation. But they don't go to churches typically. how and this book isn't obviously for, it's not about organized religion, but how do you get people who don't see themselves as, God-fearing, whether it's Jesus or God, New Testament Jesus or Old Testament God, how do you get that population of people thinking about this so they don't get in their heads about God?
There's not a single God question in the book. These questions are for all of us. These are human questions. These are the common denominators to all of human experience. Religious or non-religious, we all want to know, what is love? We all want to know what regret can teach us. We all want to have the opportunity to speak to our loved ones. We all wrestle with, what does it mean to be a good, humane human being? One of the questions in the book sounds so simple, but it's so important and nuanced to answer, which is, what is a good person? What does that mean? We all say it, be good. Be a good person. Mm-hmm. Oh, she's good people. What does that mean, really, for you in your life? So there isn't a single God question in this book. And by the way, these questions were answered for this book. The way the book is structured is I present these questions in a very deliberate order. These are the questions I've been asking families for 35 years to get to the truth of their loved one's story, to prepare for a funeral.
Let me ask you this, Rabbi. How did you pick the order? Like, how did you go about that process?
My editor asked me the same question. She said, Steve, how did you come up with these 12 questions in this order? They just unfold a person's story like time-lapse photography. And I jokingly sort of said, 35 years and 15 minutes. These are the questions I've been asking families for 35 years when I gather with them the day before the funeral to prepare them and to prepare myself to talk about their loved one who has died, to get to the truth of this person's life. And they're written in this order because they help that narrative unfold.